You hear the rooster crowing? I woke up this morning and I just feel like doing a little reflecting. And this reflection will take me way back to my childhood days, and I'm talking about under the age of 12 coming up. Yeah, it's like I'm sitting at this window and I start to smell smoke. But the smoke that I'm smelling smells like the one that I used to smell when my grandmother used to get up early in the morning, light up the wood fire, and make her roti and make her coffee. They used to say coffee tea. And we're children, we used to say the same because that's what we heard them say, coffee tea. When my grandmother used to get up so early in the morning, she would make rotis for everyone. She would knead the dough, the flour from the night before, cover it and set it, and that roti would be so mild and delicious in the morning. My grandmother made homemade coffee. She used to plant her own coffee trees. And as children, me and my cousin, especially one, we used to love to reap the coffees for her. Yes, we used to love to pick the ripe coffees off the tree, and then she would prepare them and put them on a piece of zinc in the sun to dry. And she would have her mortar, and she would beat and grind her own coffee and make her own coffee from scratch. And yes, we used to drink some too, and it was very delicious, sometimes with some coconut milk. And you see those rotis that she would make early in the morning? We would have it with some leftover dal or curry that was cooked from the night before with some rice. And of course, that rice, she used to plant her own rice as well. They call it Indian rice. And we used to love to run to the bush with her where she plants the rice. And rice is planted in a wetland, and we'd never have any problem or had any problem going in the rice field with her. I even learned how to plant the rice suckers, the rice babies, they call them bia. First, she sows the dawn, that is the unprocessed rice, scatter them, and then they grow up some, into some young plants, and then she would transfer them to the area or the land that the rice will grow, stay right there and grow. And then when she's cutting the rice again, we used to go, and I learned how to cut the rice too with the rice cutter. It's a special knife that's shaped like a C, and that knife is to cut rice. And then she would tie them up in bundles, and we would also help to bring them home. And then she dries them, and we would also, of course, beat the rice from the trash and put the rice to dry. And then she would, whenever she's ready, she would store them in bags, and whenever she's ready, she would take them to a mill, and the mill wasn't far. The rice mill wasn't far from where we live. It was like at the front of the street. So she would carry like a half a bag on her head, with her cutter on her head, a piece of cloth that they wrap in a circle, put it on the top of her head, carry her half bag of rice, or whatever amount she wants to carry, and take it to the mill, and that's where they would remove the trash from the rice. And that rice was called Indian rice. Now, I especially love those rice when it makes porridge. It makes the best rice porridge. And yes, my mother used to love it also. But we don't get Indian rice anymore. The older folks that used to plant rice, they all passed. None of the younger generation like myself, we didn't take up that trade. We just go to the supermarket and buy fancy long grain rice, jasmine rice, basmati rice, parboiled rice, whole brown rice. But our older people, they grew up eating their own cultivation Indian rice. When they use that rice to cook, make regular white rice, the grains are broken, so the rice would be softer than these long grain rice that we're buying in the supermarket now. But it was delicious with the dal and the curry. So yes, I'm sitting here reflecting, and I'm saying that, you know, even though my grandmother used to use wood fire, and her diets, her meals that she prepares wasn't from a wide variety. If it wasn't curry chicken or chicken back, or once a week when the butchers a piece of she would get a piece of beef when they butcher the bulls. Not all the time too. And chicken was we could only afford to eat chicken like on a Sunday. And now I live to see myself saying that I don't want any chicken to eat. I'm tired of chicken. I'm tired of beef. I'm tired of pork. I'm tired of fish. I'm tired of everything. Or if sometimes she would get some fish from the river or some crayfish, because even me, my cousins, friends, we used to try to make our own fish pots, or we would go to the river and do hand fishing, where we would put our hands under the bushes in the river and catch crayfish. Or we figured out ways how to catch fish as well. When we catch enough, we bring it home, and it can be prepared for dinner as well. Or we use it to make some nice fish soup for our lunch. You know, speaking about lunch, we didn't have any snacks, any fancy snacks, or we didn't have money to run to the shop and buy a pack of chips or some biscuits, buy a drink or anything like that. No, we would have to make our own lunch by picking the fruits that was in season, whether it's mango time, apple time, plum time, guinea time. Those are what we would have to have for lunch. And if none of those are in season, sugarcane is always around. It was nothing for us to take up a piece of knife or an old machete and go chop some sugarcane. We would fill up our belly with sugarcane juice before we come home, and then we would bring home a few as well. If we don't have any cane plant at the yard, the sugar factory had lots and lots and lots of sugarcane that was planted nearby. Of course, it wasn't right for us to go and cut those canes, but we still did as children. Or if breadfruit is in season, we just pick a cup of breadfruit. Sometimes we don't even drain them. Breadfruit used to be on tree ripe and falling off. So we would pick the ones that looks like they're ready to be roasted and just roast a breadfruit or two and just put a little butter on it. If we don't have any butter, we just rub some salt on it. Sometimes we would mix some sugar and water. If we have lime or sour orange, we squeeze it in it. Or we just drink the sugar and water like that. Whoever had it, we used to call it beverage. Beverage is the right name. Any cool drink or so that you mix, it's a beverage. But we used to say, as Jamaicans, we say beverage. Or if we had some syrup. Or if the shave ice man came around selling shave ice. I don't remember if it was something like 5 cents or 10 cents. We used to pay for shave ice in a bag. Or we had to bring our own cups. And the gentleman shaved the ice and pour some syrup on it, and we put some water on it. And those were the things that we enjoyed so much. On Sundays, the ice cream man would ride a bicycle or a motorbike and come around and sell ice cream. Cremo. Everybody is supposed to used to have a cremo in their community or two. And then I would choose which one I want to buy from. There was this gentleman that we call Hard and Nice. I never like him. Him always come and say Hard and Nice. And when we buy the ice cream, it is so soft. He trick us. Until I discovered that, I stopped buying from him. I start buying from somebody else. Yeah, those are some beautiful, beautiful, beautiful memories for me. Yes, my grandmother was poor. She was not rich. But looking back, I would never say that. I would never associate the word poverty with my family. Because one thing, if we weren't rich with money, we were rich in blessings. My grandmother was a believer, whether she's feeling well or not, and she had a broken hip, and one of her knee couldn't go bend. She'd take her stick and she would walk to church every Sunday. Sometimes she would go to church in the morning and even go back in the evening or the night for night service. Yes, so she was a woman of God, and I loved her. I used to enjoy combing her hair, her white hair. She only wanted one style, a center part, two plaits, one to each side, and she have this way that she would style it, put it in the back, and she wears her tie head always. I don't have much memory of my grandfather. The memory that I have of him is when he was sick and lying down in the bed and used to call my grandmother to bring him everything that he needed. Don't have much memory of him, but I also loved my grandfather. Yeah, my mom's parents. So, this is a little story time of how I grew up. Lots and lots and lots more things to talk about as a child. And I will come back with more story time. Okay? I am from humble beginnings and I will always remain humble. Thank you for watching.